Last night I celebrated my 25th birthday. Thank you. I say my 25th birthday, it's my 25th birthday in the church. In 2001, I became a Catholic, and 30 people were fully initiated yesterday evening into our parish, the most that we've had since I was pastor here. In 2001, when I became Catholic, it was a year after the Jubilee, and there were a huge number of people that joined the Catholic Church. Just like this year, there have been really a record number of people joining the church, not only here in our parish, throughout our diocese, but throughout the entire world. We might ask ourselves why this is. I think that in part it is because the world as we know it has experienced suffering in a unique way after the COVID-19 virus, the different wars that we are even now continuing to experience. The suffering causes us to take pause in our life and to ask ourselves what it is that is of most importance in our life. One of the readings last night at the Easter Vigil, during the Easter Vigil we actually have 9 readings. One of the readings was from the prophet Isaiah. He says, "Come to me, all you who are thirsty, and I will give you drink." Why waste your money on things that cannot give you satisfaction? The truth is that all of us, whoever we are, have a longing within our hearts for something more. Money cannot buy happiness. Wealth, power, prestige, none of it can buy happiness. Our happiness is rooted in our relationship with God. Each of us has an infinite hole within our hearts that can only be filled by God. It is a longing for satisfaction that God alone can provide. This is what St. Augustine understood. And when Pope Leo was made a pope, as an Augustinian, he has many times pointed us to this reality, that God alone can fill the void that each of us has within our hearts. In the sacrament of baptism, which our catechumens received last night, and which many of us have also received, we receive, as the prophet Ezekiel says, a new heart. The last reading from the Old Testament last night speaks to this new heart, through which God's grace is poured out into all of us. And God calls us as Christians to a vocation of charity. 25 years ago, when I became Catholic, I did not know that my vocation to charity would involve becoming a priest. Only through prayer, discernment, going to the seminary like Samir here, our seminarian, praying, discerning, learning, I heard the call to the priesthood. All of us have a vocation to charity. All of us are called in some way to make a gift of ourselves for the sake of the church, for the sake of God. Over the last 3 days, we have reflected on the passion of Jesus. I've reminded myself during this reflection on Jesus' sacrifice of the word kenosis. Kenosis means self-emptying. St. Paul speaks to this in his letter to the Philippians, chapter 2. Jesus did not regard his divinity something to be grasped at. Rather, in taking on flesh, he emptied himself. We, in our vocation to charity, are called to sacrifice that involves a kenosis, a self-emptying. This is what it means to live a Christian life. It does not mean living a life without suffering. The Israelites found this out. Abraham found this out. In the readings from the Old Testament last night, they suffered. Wandering in the desert for 40 years would be an unimaginable suffering for all of us. We all suffer in our own unique way. We suffer the existential crisis of being human. We suffer from the loss of loved ones. We suffer from our own struggle with sin, addictions, mental illness, countless unnameable ways of suffering in our life. But we suffer in a unique way because our hearts are configured to Christ. We have been given a new heart, and the self-emptying that we experience, the kenosis that we experience, is an opportunity to be united more deeply with Jesus, to be people of charity. So we pray for that grace to conform our hearts more completely as we continue this year, this celebration. Configure our hearts to Christ, the source of love and charity.